Hi, Mary Dias, realtor from Southern Indiana. I'm going to talk to you about the stages of buying a house. First one being preparation, second one searching, third one the actual under contract, and the fourth one closing. I'm going to break it down a little further, go into some details, and then there'll be future videos to go through each of these steps for maybe first-time home buyers, for those that are downsizing, and then some more videos about actual financing, pre-approval, etc. So more to come with that. But the first one is your financial preparation. Credit check is a big part of your financial health when you're looking to buy a house. And those are the first things you need to look at and saying, I'm going to make one of the biggest purchases of my life. I really need to look into where am I at with my credit? Where am I at with my credit? Do I need to do credit repair? There are credit repair programs that are out there if you're not where you would want to be able to get the best mortgage you possibly could. So there's options out there. Doesn't necessarily you need to be at the top for credit, but you need to know what your credit is. And you need to know what's that going to do to me, for me. You have to know what your credit is. Then once you know what your credit is, you have a better idea of what kind of mortgage you're going to be able to get. Are you a first-time home mortgage buyer? Are you a refinancing person? Are you upgrading? Are you downsizing? All of that comes into play when you're figuring out what's your budget going to be. Where am I at today? What's my mortgage payment today? What is my mortgage payment going to look like at this next purchase? So those are all the big finance components of figuring out what your budget's going to be. Knowing what your debt is, knowing what your income is, what savings do you have, what kind of down payment are you going to make. All that comes into play to figure out what's the budget on this house, on this purchase that I'm going to make now. What's my budget going to be? It can be a range. It doesn't have to be a big range, or this is the max that I'm going to do. You're going to know. It's your finances, big expense. Know what you can do as far as your finances. Then once you have that credit check, your budget, your finance, you've talked to someone about a mortgage to say, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm looking at. This is the range I want to be in. You can get a pre-approval. That way they know when you're making an offer on a home, it's a serious offer. You have backing. You've already talked to the financial people. You know what kind of mortgage and dollars that you're talking about, so you can have a strong offer with a pre-approval letter going in. So that's all the prep work that's going into that financial preparation in stage one. Once you have all of those pieces done, you can start the next phase of, I need to find a home now that's going to meet my needs. Find an agent, someone that's going to help you navigate the market, someone that can help you figure out the areas, figure out what criteria, help you with making the list of these are my must-haves, this is what I would really, really like. And this is my budget. This is the top of my budget. This is where I really want to stay. And then they will assist you in making a competitive offer. If there's any contingencies, if you have a house to sell, if there's inspections, if there's a financing contingency, all of those are legal requirements that need to be in the offer when you're going to find a house. And then under contract is the stage that you've made the offer, it's been accepted, you're now under contract. You now have home inspection. You want to make sure there's nothing major that's going on with this property. So that you're going to radon checks, pest control, if there's anything regarding the foundation of that house, the roof, major expenses, the HVAC, if there's been a septic, when's the last time it's been serviced? The age of the septic is important. Is there another runoff field for the septic? There's lots of elements of that, and your real estate agent can assist you with those questions, all of the things that come up with regard to home inspection. Then there's the appraisal. You've talked to the mortgage company about getting a loan. They're going to want an appraisal that's going to be, somebody's going to go in there and say, yes, this property appraises for the value and it is more than the amount that we're going to loan the money for the house, because it's going to be collateral to that loan. So they need to make sure that it meets all of the requirements to loan that money to the borrowers for that house. The other part of that is title search. You want to make sure that the person whose home you're buying actually owns it, and there are no liens against that property that you would inherit with that ownership. So you need a clean title. So they will have a title search, and a title search company does that work to ensure that that title is clean and clear of any defects. Once you have all of that, you want to make sure you have homeowner's insurance to protect that property once you've purchased the property, and for a value that is going to be able to cover the value of the home. And then the final is closing of the loan. And then once the loan is closed, gone through all the underwriting stages, and underwriting is a lot of documents that are required to meet the requirements of the financial burden of that loan. So there are a lot of documents, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There are a lot of documents that are required to make it through underwriting. If there's any gap in your employment history, they're going to want to know what those gaps are and why. And if there is any large purchases, they're going to have to be explained. If there are any large deposits in the bank account, they're going to have to be explained. There is a lot of documentation from underwriting to ensure that they're going to be loaning that money to you, that all of that meets the criteria that they're required to by the financing individuals that are out there, and the laws and legality of finance to loan money for all of the different loan products. And then final walkthrough before closing to make sure the property is in the same or better condition than when you saw the property and wrote the contract. And then closing disclosures, the loan company as well as the closing attorney will give you all of the documents that are required 3 days prior to closing that say this is the breakdown of the money. This is what is owed by the seller and the buyer, the debits and the credits on all of that documentation. We'll have another whole video on closing disclosure and explanation of all of the different elements on those for final costs. But that is all reviewed 3 days prior to closing so that you know exactly what money you're bringing to the table. The loan will be funded according to what's on that document, and then closing day is signing all of that legal documentation, paying the closing costs, and finally getting the keys to the property that you've searched for, found, and hopefully will enjoy for years to come. And the final step is to move in, unpack, and enjoy for years to come. Thanks for listening. See you on the next one.